Our tale of A'Sharad Hett, Darth Krayt, continues, the only Tusken Jedi in his path to becoming one of the most feared Sith Lords in all of Star Wars Legends. In the Legacy era, Darth Krayt is responsible for the recreation of the Sith Order into what is known as the One Sith, a cult which essentially worships him as the one true Dark Lord, and a cutthroat command structure to boot. But as we've been recounting his story, A'Sharad has so far seemed to us like one of the wisest and most powerful Jedi in the entire Order, despite being a Tusken and suffering through the death of his father, who he would train with, and later training under the Dark Woman, one of the Jedi Order's toughest instructors. A'Sharad Hett became a Jedi who knew better the ways of vengeance than anyone else, even teaching Anakin Skywalker a lesson when Anakin attacked him for being a Tusken. But all of this built up wisdom and care would crash down during Order 66, when A'Sharad found his Jedi compatriots dead and decided to finally let loose, shredding through every clone trooper in his path as he fought his way out of the Order. Back on Tatooine, he resumed his place as a Tusken war chief until coming in direct battle with Obi-Wan Kenobi. Their duel was a brief but a brutal one, and it resulted in A'Sharad being defeated and disgraced from his tribe. Having lost now his arm and his home, A'Sharad was forced to wander the stars. And today, my friends, we're going to open up a holocron and enter the darkest chapter of the life of A'Sharad Hett and the birth of Darth Krayt, one of my favorite Sith Lords in all of the lore, as we have now entered the era of the Dragon. Following his banishment from Tatooine, A'Sharad decided to hide his Jedi nature in the Empire-ruled galaxy and picked up the only job that he knew that he would be good at, a bounty hunter. Several years into hunting, A'Sharad would chase down a bounty by the name of Resk through the Outer Rim and onto the world of Korriban. Here, one of the planet's infamous violent storms downed both the ships of A'Sharad and his bounty. And on the surface, A'Sharad battled with Resk, revealing his lightsabers, as they were now in a remote location, and A'Sharad could reveal his nature in the Force. Resk claimed that A'Sharad couldn't turn him in now, because he would reveal A'Sharad was a Jedi. But just as the storm had downed both of them, A'Sharad was fresh out of mercy this time, and he knew that Resk would never leave these sands, relieving the bounty of his head, stating that the bounty was the same, dead or alive. The once proud Jedi Master has fallen. He is broken mentally. He does not know what he is any longer, and the code that he once held strong to is nothing, obliterated by Vader and Sidious. The lesson Obi-Wan Kenobi had hoped to impart upon him didn't have the effect that the Jedi Master intended. Now, because A'Sharad and his actions, he was alone, and a darkness had grown within him, one which was no longer tempered by his decision to adhere to his Jedi training. Everything that Ki-Adi-Mundi and the Dark Woman had invested in him was gone, replaced by a hatred for the Empire, a disdain for his life. A dragon was growing within A'Sharad Hett. But this is when he heard something. He heard something that would change his life. No, he felt it. A voice calling from within one of the ancient temples. A woman's voice, calling his name through the Force. A'Sharad would follow this voice into the depths of the Dark Temple, where he was led to a sealed door. With a rough explosion of the Force within him, he would shatter the door into pieces, only to be met by a simple holocron in the center of the room. A'Sharad picked up the holocron, and out of it came the spirit of the Lady XoXaan. For those who need a refresher, XoXaan was one of the first 12 Dark Jedi that came to Korriban with Ajunta Pal, following the Second Great Jedi Schism. She is ancient, she is powerful, she is a founding member of the Sith, and the fact that her holocron still existed undisturbed for thousands of years later is legendary. It has been waiting. As the spirit of XoXaan explains, she had kept their presence hidden from anyone who sought to find her, Jedi and Sith alike, until this very moment. She had specifically been waiting for someone like A'Sharad. In the lady's words, someone who has served the light and found it empty, who has found the lacking in the galaxy, someone who has known anger, hate, and now despair. She then asks A'Sharad if he was willing to open himself to the truth, and slowly, the former Jedi agrees. But make no mistake, my friends, this is not the birth of Darth Krayt. or when he was dubbed to join the Order of the Sith. A'Sharad here had no intention of joining the Sith whatsoever. In fact, A'Sharad was attempting to deceive the spirit of XoXaan. He planned on learning the secrets of the Sith, acquiring new skills and power so that he could use them to destroy Vader and Sidious. His plan this entire time was to use the Sith secrets to destroy the Sith ruling class, to become something powerful enough to bring the Sith to an end. This was his truth. But this was all a lie. Not to XoXaan, but to himself. He had no idea the truly corruptive nature of the Sith. He was caught in its snare and was blind. So blind, in fact, that when he finally emerged from the depths of the temple to return to the stars, he found that it was too late. He had been in the temple for so long that Luke Skywalker had already bested Palpatine, Vader, and the Empire was crumbling. As a side note, I want to talk about how insane Sith temples are and the effect that they have on the minds of Force sensitives. We've talked at length before about how the construction of these temples are meant to channel the energies of the dark side directly, and it's like they have a malicious mind of their own. The temple knew what it was doing to A'Sharad Hett, and the Lady XoXaan knew as well. She said she had been waiting for someone like A'Sharad for thousands of years. This was all planned out. She would ensnare them by appealing to their desire for vengeance, and then warp their perception of time. They would become so immersed in the Sith teachings, far longer than they believed, and they would come out changed. And although A'Sharad didn't know it yet, he had indeed changed forever. A'Sharad had lost all purpose. He was empty. His desire for vengeance was left unsatisfied, and he felt he had no place in the galaxy. And so, he took to the stars, left for the unknown regions, intending to lose himself in the great abyss forever. But of course, my friends, we said unknown. And unknown does not mean empty. A'Sharad would run into a scout ship of the Yuzhong Vong, and was shocked when the Force told him nothing about the attackers that now overwhelmed him. He crashed inside the hangar of one of their ships, and was perplexed at what he found. He had never seen anything like the ship he was in. It was fully organic. Neither had he seen anything like the warriors that now accosted him, or the weapons that they used to beat him with. The Vong defeated A'Sharad, overwhelmed him with their strange organic weaponry, and they would imprison him on their ship to study him. As A'Sharad awoke, he found himself in a Vong torture device known as the Embrace of Pain. It hung him upside down, and the more he tried to escape, the more pain it inflicted. Not only that, but he discovered that his cybernetic arm had now been removed and was replaced with something organic. And there was more. The Vong had implanted his body with coral seeds as an experiment, as they had been fascinated by his Force abilities. These coral seeds would later become the bane of Krayt's existence, as they were meant to be an experiment to corrupt his mind, but instead, all they did was inflict endless pain, slowly killing him over the course of decades. During his capture, he would meet with another former Jedi Master by the name of Vergere, who was also captive on the Vong ship. She had been a master prior to the Clone Wars, and had gone missing on a mission to the Zonana sector. She claimed that she had studied under Sidious himself in an attempt to betray and kill him, but that she had failed, and was captured by the Vong when she fled the known galaxy. But A'Sharad would note that it was difficult to tell whether she was lying or telling the truth, as the lies were only a means to an end for Vergere. She would inform A'Sharad that there was no escape, and would coach him on simply letting go, to learn to embrace the pain. For an unknown amount of time, A'Sharad's existence was an endless state of pain dominated by experiments by the Vong. His body was enhanced to better withstand the strains put on it by the experiments, including his left eye being amputated and replaced with the eye of a Vong creature. Between these sessions, he would be placed back into the Embrace of Pain, where Vergere would sometimes come and teach A'Sharad to use the agony of the pain to embrace, to open himself up. And when he finally did, A'Sharad received a grand vision, a vision of himself at the helm of a new Sith Order. And this is when his philosophy was born. And we will let the words of A'Sharad himself explain it. Power without purpose is meaningless. The galaxy is chaotic. Order must be imposed because it will never be chosen. The Jedi will not do it. A new order of Sith must be created in secret. My Sith will be many, but they will also be one. The order itself above all. power magnified by its focus. When they began, the Sith were many. Bane changed the rules and changed the Sith. Now I have been called to change them again. Vergere would listen to Krayt, but would ultimately reject him, as she stated that it was clear that A'Sharad was following a different path from her own, and she would need a student who would listen to her teachings. It was then that she abandoned A'Sharad and left him to die there. But that was when A'Sharad began planning his escape. Much time had passed, but when he got the opportunity, he proved that he was more powerful than ever, fully capable of commanding the dark side at full strength. Unleashing tsunamis of force lightning on the Vong captors, A'Sharad recreated the path of destruction that he wrought during Order 66, and the Vong implants in his body allowed him to use their organic technology, enabling him to steal a ship known as a Coral Skipper starfighter and escape. But A'Sharad knew that the Vong needed to believe that he was dead, so he made sure the ship that he had been on was destroyed after he departed. It was the eve of the Yuzhong Vong invasion, which would place this now somewhere around the year 25 ABY. This meant that A'Sharad had been living in torment by the Vong for nearly 20 years. But instead of warning the galaxy of the impending invasion, A'Sharad decided to simply return to Korriban. To warn the galaxy would be to reveal himself, and he could not do that. A'Sharad Hett had died on that ship, and he now dubbed himself Darth Krayt, choosing a name which reminded him of his now lost Tusken past. It was an appropriate name, as Tusken teenagers had to slay a Krayt dragon in order to complete their coming-of-age ceremony. In the same way, A'Sharad had gone through his own coming-of-age ceremony, now stepping into the full role as the Dark Lord of the Sith. And so Darth Krayt was a proper moniker for the former Jedi. Krayt paid no attention to the suffering of the galaxy during the Yuzhong Vong War, and instead focused on building the One Sith. He had intended on bringing Lady Lumaya into their plans, but Lumaya ended up teaming with Vergere in order to turn Jacen Solo to the dark side, creating Darth Kaitis. But that served Krayt's plans just fine, as Kaitis drew the Jedi Order's attention away from the One Sith. The Sith continued to hide under the miasma of darkside energy of Korriban, never being known to the Jedi Order. But a problem still remained. The coral seeds in Krayt's body were slowly killing him, not to mention all the other experimentation that the Vong had done should have put Krayt in an early grave. But instead, he used several darkside rituals to prolong his life, while also having himself put in a stasis casket. It would take many years for his body to heal, so he remained in constant stasis, but would leave his mind open to his closest followers, namely the Sith Darth Warlock, who carried out all of Krayt's desires for the One Sith. We do know of a time when Darth Krayt would emerge during the Abeloth crisis, where the Sith would actually help Grandmaster Luke against Abeloth in the final battle. But all of this for Krayt was to just ensure that there was still a galaxy left for him to conquer. Afterwards, it was business as usual, and he would retreat back into hiding until almost 90 years into the future, past the death of Luke. When the One Sith emerged, they usurped control from the new Galactic Empire, defeated the Galactic Alliance in a war, and scattered the Jedi after attacking their temple on Ossus. But that is the story for another holocron, as we finally enter the era of the Dragon. So friends, what do you think of the journey of A'Sharad Hett to Darth Krayt, and Krayt's birth? The birth of the dragon. It's a different story that's actually much different from how most Jedi to Sith descend. Krayt wishes to do good for the galaxy in his own way by uniting it under one figurehead so that it will no longer be weak and vulnerable. A'Sharad's fall was almost as tragic as Anakin Skywalker's, as it could have been entirely preventable in several spots. Perhaps if he had decided to seek out Luke after emerging from the Korriban tombs, he may have been saved, or maybe not. Where exactly would you say was the point of no return for A'Sharad Hett? Let us know your thoughts down below on this tale of Darth Krayt. And as always, my friends, may the Force be with you.